is John-Rodger, and I'm here to talk to you about service dogs. Service dogs have come a long way. It used to be that the only dog that you had was a dog for the blind. But service dogs now cover a wide variety of disabilities, and laws governing service dogs come under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Some people have disabilities that are unseen. You know, it's interesting. You see a guy in a wheelchair, you don't go up to him and say like, gosh, why are you in that wheelchair? Oh, you know, I have cerebral palsy and it's a little bit easier getting around. It's amazing how many people come up and say, gosh, you don't look disabled. Why do you need a service dog? Well, one of the things I learned early on is you don't have to answer every stupid question that somebody asks you. Service dogs come under the California Penal Code, section 365.5. And it says, in brief, any blind person, deaf person, or disabled person who is a passenger on any common carrier, airplane, motor vehicle, railway train, motor bus, streetcar, boat, or any other public conveyance or mode of transportation operating within this state shall railway train, motor bus, streetcar, boat, or any other public conveyance or mode of transportation operating within this state shall be entitled to have with him or her a specially trained guide dog, signal dog, or service dog. Section B goes on to say no blind person, deaf person, or disabled person and his or her specifically trained guide dog, signal dog, or service dog shall be denied admittance to any accommodation, advantages, facilities, medical facilities, including hospitals, clinics, and physicians' offices, telephone facilities, adoption agencies. I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but anyway, private schools, hotels, lodging places, places of public accommodation, amusement or resort, and other places that cater to the general public. The law goes on to state that any person, firm, association, or corporation, or the agent of any person, firm, association, or corporation who prevents a disabled person from exercising or interferes with a disabled person in the exercise of the rights specified in this section is guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by a fine not exceeding $2,500. Section F goes on to say, as used in this section, service dog means any dog individually trained to do work or perform tasks for the benefit of an individual with a disability, including, but not limited, minimal protection, rescue work, pulling a wheelchair, or fetching dropped items. Section H goes on to say the exercise of rights specified in subdivision A and B by any person may not be conditioned upon payment of any extra charge, provided that the person shall be liable for any providable damage done to the premises or facilities by the dog. I have to tell you that most service dogs are better behaved than most human beings that I've seen. I have found that it's a lot easier to have an identification tag, something like this, affixed to my dog's collar. I have my glasses on because the reading on the back is small indeed, but it's under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And it says, privately owned businesses that serve the public, such as restaurants, retail stores, cabs, theaters, concert halls, sports facilities, all of these are prohibited from discriminating against individuals with disabilities. The Americans with Disabilities Act requires these businesses to allow people with disabilities to bring their service animals onto the business premises in whatever areas customers are generally allowed. It also goes on to say, what is a service animal? The Americans with Disabilities Act defines a service animal as any guide dog, signal dog, or other animal trained to provide assistance to an individual with a disability. If they meet this definition, animals are considered service animals under the Americans with Disabilities Act, regardless of whether they have been licensed or certified by a state or local government. As I said earlier, I'm making this film because so many establishments are unaware of the laws that currently surround service animals. And as I've said, the laws surrounding service animals come under the Americans with Disabilities Act. That means that when you go to a hotel, they don't have to put you in the dog room. In fact, they can't put you in the dog room, nor can they charge you extra. Now, if your dog does damage to their hotel room, you have to pay for it. That's fair, isn't it? You can't be seated in the worst seat in the restaurant because you have a service animal. You can't be denied entrance to any place that allows the general public, that's doctor's offices, that's clinics, theaters, any place that allows the general public to go. You, as a disabled person, have rights. And I know that sometimes it's very embarrassing. I was in Kmart, and sometimes Kmart's has a little pizza place inside of it. I went in with my service dog, who's had 3 years of intensive training, and I heard, "Hey, buddy, get that dog out of here." I turned around to see who he was talking to me from across the room. Well, I'm not used to people calling me buddy from across the room. Make a long story short, we went all the way to the manager. The manager called the police, and police are a little busy here in Southern California, so the police never really got to the scene. However, I did speak to the manager later at length in his office and explained to him that what he was doing was rude, crude, and simply unconscionable. It was also ignorant. If you're manager of a store like a Kmart, you need to make yourself familiar with the law. And as I said, the laws governing service animals come under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, as an aside, I have to tell you that this particular Kmart actually has 4 stickers. 1 sticker on each entrance door, 1 sticker on each exit door, that says very clearly, no animals allowed with the exception of seeing eye dogs and service dogs. The manager apparently doesn't go in the front door. I guess he goes in the back door. I single out Kmart because the man could have turned this around and made it a respectable thing. But what he did is he closed the restaurant, cleared everyone out until myself and my service dog left the premises. I don't shop much more at Kmart, and I urge you not to either, especially if you have or if you know someone that has a service animal. So to sum up here, I'd like to bring up some points. First of all, no one can ask you why you have a service animal. That would be akin to going up to someone in a wheelchair and saying, "Why are you in a wheelchair?" Secondly, you cannot be denied any place that the general public is allowed. As I said earlier, you don't have to have the worst seat in the restaurant.